Index fund. Index fund. An index fund tracks a specific market index. An index fund tracks a specific market index. Index funds have lower fees compared to actively managed funds. Index funds have lower fees compared to actively managed funds. Investors use index funds for long-term growth. Investors use index funds for long-term growth. Sovereign wealth fund. Sovereign wealth fund. A sovereign wealth fund invests national savings. A sovereign wealth fund invests national savings. Sovereign wealth funds manage large global assets. Sovereign wealth funds manage large global assets. The country's sovereign wealth fund is growing. The country's sovereign wealth fund is growing. Sovereign risk. Sovereign risk. Sovereign risk refers to the risk of government default. Sovereign risk refers to the risk of government default. Investors consider sovereign risk before investing abroad. Investors consider sovereign risk before investing abroad. High sovereign risk can lead to higher borrowing costs. High sovereign risk can lead to higher borrowing costs. Transfer pricing. Transfer pricing. Transfer pricing determines the prices between subsidiaries. Transfer pricing determines the prices between subsidiaries. Companies must comply with transfer pricing regulations. Companies must comply with transfer pricing regulations. Transfer pricing can affect tax liabilities. Transfer pricing can affect tax liabilities. Capital. Capital. Capital is essential for business operations. Capital is essential for business operations. The company raised capital for expansion. The company raised capital for expansion. The startup is seeking venture capital. The startup is seeking venture capital. Capital preservation. Capital preservation. Capital preservation focuses on protecting principal. Capital preservation focuses on protecting principal. Investors prioritize capital preservation in volatile markets. Investors prioritize capital preservation in volatile markets. Capital preservation strategies are conservative investment approaches. Capital preservation strategies are conservative investment approaches. Cost of capital. Cost of capital. The cost of capital is the return required by investors. The cost of capital is the return required by investors. A low cost of capital increases business profitability. A low cost of capital increases business profitability. Companies seek to reduce their cost of capital. Companies seek to reduce their cost of capital. Capital structure. Capital structure. Capital structure determines the mix of debt and equity. Capital structure determines the mix of debt and equity. The company changed its capital structure to reduce risk. The company changed its capital structure to reduce risk. Capital structure affects the company's financial stability. Capital structure affects the company's financial stability. Capital gains. Capital gains. Capital gains are profits from the sale of assets. Capital gains are profits from the sale of assets. Long-term capital gains are taxed at a lower rate. Long-term capital gains are taxed at a lower rate. Investors seek capital gains through stock market investments. Investors seek capital gains through stock market investments. Capital market. Capital market. The capital market allows businesses to raise funds. The capital market allows businesses to raise funds. Companies issue bonds in the capital market. Companies issue bonds in the capital market. The capital market has seen increased activity this year. The capital market has seen increased activity this year.